So, think about this for a second. What could you, a massive redwood tree, and a tiny little bacterium possibly have in common? Well, the answer is actually pretty amazing. The cell. That's the fundamental building block of all life. And today, we're going to take a journey into this incredible, microscopic world to see how it all works. Our story starts way back in 1665 with a scientist named Robert Hooke. He's looking at a super thin slice of cork under his microscope, and he notices this structure. It looked a lot like a honeycomb, kind of like the tiny rooms monks live in a monastery. So he called them cells, from the Latin word cellula, which means small room. And just like that, the invisible architecture of life finally had a name. Hooke's discovery was really just the first step. It actually took almost 200 more years for scientists to put all the pieces together. But when they did, it led to one of the most important ideas in all of biology. An idea that basically turned it into the unified science we know today. And here they are, the 3 simple but incredibly powerful rules of life. They were nailed down in 1839 by 2 scientists, Schleiden and Schwann. First, everything that's alive, it's made of cells. Second, the cell is the most basic, fundamental unit of that life. And third, and this is a big one, all cells have to come from other pre-existing cells. No magic. This right here, this cell theory, is going to be our roadmap for everything we explore next. Okay, so if everything's made of cells, does that mean they're all the same? Nope, not even close. Turns out, all life on our entire planet is built from one of 2 fundamental blueprints. First up, you've got the prokaryotes. Think of them as the original minimalist design. They're simple, they're small, and their DNA just kind of floats around inside. These guys were the very first forms of life on Earth. And then you've got the eukaryotes. These are the complex, upgraded model. They're way bigger, they have a special room for their DNA called a nucleus, and they've got all these other specialized compartments. Yeah, this table really breaks it down, doesn't it? The biggest deal, the absolute game changer, is that membrane-bound nucleus. Eukaryotes have it, prokaryotes don't. Period. Eukaryotes also have a ton of other membrane-bound compartments, these organelles, while prokaryotes keep things much simpler. And the size difference? Whoa, it's not even close. We're talking the difference between a tiny studio apartment and a massive mansion. Since we humans are eukaryotes, let's go ahead and take a tour of that mansion, the complex eukaryotic cell. Inside, we're going to find all these specialized rooms, and each one is doing a vital job to keep the whole thing running. But before we go in, let's get the lingo down. These specialized rooms are called organelles, and the name is perfect. It literally means little organs. And that's exactly what they are. Just like your heart and your lungs have specific jobs in your body, each organelle has a very specific function inside the cell. All these organelles, they work together like a finely tuned system. You've got the nucleus, that's the control center, storing all the genetic blueprints. Then there are the mitochondria, they're the power plants, generating all the energy. The ribosomes, they're like a factory assembly line, building proteins. And wrapping the whole thing up is the cell membrane. It's like a security gate, carefully controlling everything that goes in and out. So we've seen how a single cell can function like a bustling little city. But how do we get from one tiny building block to a complex, thinking, moving person made of trillions of them? Well, let's scale things up and find out. Get ready for this number. 30 trillion. That's the best estimate for how many cells are working together inside your body right now. It's a mind-boggling number, right? And it just goes to show you that these tiny, tiny units are literally what make you, well, you. And you know what's maybe the most amazing part? Every single one of those 30 trillion cells, from the ones that make your muscles contract to the ones that make your nerves fire, every one of them started from a single cell called a zygote. Through this process called differentiation, that one cell just divides and specializes over and over, creating all the different types we need to build a complex body. Now, all this incredible complexity didn't just pop up out of nowhere. To really get the full picture of the cell, we've got to travel back in time, billions of years actually, to see where it all began. Wow, this timeline really puts it all in perspective. Life kicked off with those simple prokaryotic cells almost 4 billion years ago, and it took nearly 2 billion more years for the complex eukaryotes to finally show up. And then look how recently we figured all this out. It's an ancient, ancient story that we've really only just started to read. So how on earth did that huge leap in complexity happen? Well, the leading theory is actually kind of beautiful. It's all about cooperation. It's called the theory of symbiogenesis, and it suggests our complex ancestors didn't just slowly evolve. No, they formed a radical partnership. Picture this. One simple prokaryote literally swallowed another one. But instead of digesting it, they teamed up. And that little cell that got swallowed, it eventually became the mitochondria we know today, the power plants for every complex cell. So we're left with this really profound idea, aren't we? The very foundation of complex life, the cells that make up you and me, it all started with an ancient act of cooperation, a partnership between two simple little beings that created something so much bigger than themselves. So if that's the principle that built all of us, it really makes you wonder, what else can it build?